Sup wangers, how's it going? Lloyd Carter here from Wing Magma. Welcome to episode 5 of the Wing Magma Podcast, the podcast where I discuss all the music I'm involved in, from music that I am writing, music that I'm playing, music that I'm listening to, and music that I talk to my friends about. This has been a really, really cool week for music writing. I've been doing a few bits and bobs in the garage in here, working with my new keyboard that I bought a couple of weeks ago. I've just got that running properly, and I've started writing a few bits and bobs, and it's been going very, very well. I think the most exciting stuff that's been happening this week is with Bronze Age. We had another really productive rehearsal where we've got pretty much another 2 tracks in the bag, and we kind of went through a few other potential ideas, and we think we've probably got 5 new tracks altogether in the pipeline, so on top of the original 4 that are already on Spotify, there's probably another 5 new tracks, and we are going to be getting those ready, hopefully to debut at our gig in April, because we've been asked to play Handmade Festival, so really, really chuffed to be playing that festival again. I always, whenever I see a Handmade Festival flyer or whatever going out and we're not playing, it breaks my heart a little bit, because it just reminds me of all the festivals that John used to put on back in the day, all the white noises and things like that we were always quite an active part of in one band or another. So glad to be a part of that again, and the new tracks are really, really cool, really enjoying them. We've kind of found our stride a little bit now. Dave, our drummer, is incredible and is really adding a lot to the music, and we're just finding our own kind of space within the band, and what we're good at and what we all bring to the table makes things significantly richer. So yeah, really, really cool week, and there will be stuff soon. I know I keep saying soon, but there's so many ideas going on at the moment. It's, in all honesty, I don't remember a time when there's been so many ideas flying around in Bronze Age, Wing Magma. Wing Magma's got lots of different things going on in terms of genres and picking up ideas from years gone by, new ideas, new instruments, completely new sounds, and I think I've mentioned it before, the Rick Rubin book that I've just finished reading has had a huge part in my understanding as to the creative process and what it could be and what it should be, and how my creative process has been quite destructive is not the right word, but I kind of am my own biggest blocker in that process. I kind of shoot ideas down before they've even begun too much, because I'm worried about people's opinions. I'm worried about well, that's pretty much it. I kind of put a lens on it, like, what are people going to think about this? Is this good enough? Who is going to listen to this? And as soon as you start questioning your ideas and putting too many things in the way of those ideas, they start to die out, and that's where I've been. And going through all of these little ideas that I've been posting every day, there's so much stuff there that started, and then I I didn't know how to take it any further because I didn't know how it was going to be received. So I'm just kind of ignoring all of that and letting the ideas come out, land on the table without any sort of editing process. And I don't mean physically editing in a DAW or anything like that. I'm just no self-filtering and just letting the ideas come out, and then you've got things to play with and you can build things from there. And just letting the ideas go through their natural paces. And then, you know, when you come to an impasse, or I don't know what else I want to bring out for this, then you can start sifting through things. And that's kind of where I'm at with a lot of the Wing Magma stuff. I've just kind of been following an idea through to its natural kind of conclusion and then moving on. So I think the next phase that I need to kind of get more disciplined at is going through those ideas and making something out of them. So yeah, very exciting, lots of stuff going on, and I'm really, really excited to share it when it's ready. This week's conversation was with a guy that I work with called Damon Carter. Damon asked me to be on the podcast because he had an idea that he wanted to talk about, and he didn't have like a title for it or anything like that, but looking at his notes, it was essentially around the evolution of the listening experience of consuming music and how that's changed over the years, and what it's like now. And we had a really great conversation. It meanders, it goes all over the shop, because although we had some questions and some topics to kind of frame things, it was just a really great chat, and I'm a huge fan of doing that, and he's a great guy to talk about. He loves his music, he loves all sorts of music, and he's a deep thinker. So we really got into it and had a very interesting conversation, which we shall cut to now. Hey everyone, I am joined this week by my dear friend and work husband, Damon Carter. Yes, we share the same surname. It's because we were wed and we love each other deeply. So, Damon and I work together at Eiffel Presentations. Damon is one of our very talented writers, and Damon is kind of the figurehead, I'm going to say, of our Monday album listening club. So we're in the office on a Monday, and Damon is would you say you're the host, or were you just the coordinator?
I think God's probably a bit too strong, but I mean, yeah, I suppose I am. I organise it, and if I don't, I've got a feeling when I'm not in, I don't think it happens. I could be completely wrong on that, but I don't feel like it happens when I'm not in, but which is fine, you know, it doesn't have to be.
We can start the conversation there. Do you want to explain to the thousands and thousands of listeners what we're talking about in terms of the Monday listening club?
Yeah, I think I've been doing about 18 months, and like obviously we used to be sort of split up in teams a little bit, so we were in one room, you guys were in another, and our old sort of team, I think what it was like a national album day or something at that kind of time. I think that's around about October, and yeah, I started thinking, why don't we listen to things like that more? Why, when we're in the office, we'll have like constant flowing playlist music and really good stuff, but it's hard to get into anything in particular because, you know, it's on to the next one. Like Gaz Coombs will be playing, and then it'll be the Chemical Brothers, and then it'll be Metronomy, and then it'll be something else completely, or Fold, you know, whatever, and there's no real through line there. And I just thought, I think we were trying to get everyone back into the swing of getting back into the office as well, which took a long time, didn't it, after the pandemic, of getting everyone's mindset there. And I just thought, it'd be nice to have a silly little reason to look forward to coming into the office, and Mondays especially. So like, yeah, album day was just I made a list of rules because that's what I'm like. I'm really like overly like rule heavy on things, because I'm like, right, we're gonna have to have an album. You all have to choose an album. You all have to. So what I do is I spin the wheel. We've got like a little wheel which I'll talk about later. If it lands on Lloyd's name, Lloyd chooses an album. If Lloyd chooses Gaz Coombs' Matador twice, I say you can't have that. You've already had it once. That's it now. We've had one play. And that also means if anyone else chooses the same album, I have to say, no, I'm sorry. You can't do that. It has to be played from start to finish as the artist intended. It has to be, yeah. Well, yeah, because while I say that, I'm assuming most of them would want you to play it in that order. And no greatest hits. That's a big no-no. No compilations, more or less the same sort of thing. I do think once someone got a DJ mix through the filter process the other week while I was on a call. So
what about live albums? What's the consensus on live albums?
I think live albums is okay, actually. We were talking about what's okay. I think live albums is fine because a lot of them get released like that, and a lot of them are really popular. And also that 1001 Albums book has a few live albums in, doesn't it? So I think for me, yeah, I make it sound like I'm a big rule heavy guy. It's not.
You just said you were a rule heavy guy.
I suppose I am.
So I remember requesting the Phil Spector Christmas album on the run up to Christmas, which you okayed, but it caused uproar in the office.
There were chairs thrown everywhere.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. Again, I refer back to the 1001 Albums book. It was in there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's in there.
Alex had the same thing. He mentioned it on the podcast a few weeks ago that I came to it again in about the summer of 2021 or whatever it was, and I thought I can't listen to this in the summer, and then I parked it until Christmas, and yeah, we put it on. Then you're right. There are sort of extenuating circumstances sometimes when you can't always fit those rules, but I just thought it was nice to have a basis for us to listen to albums. And also main thing was just to go, what's Lloyd listening to these days, or what does Lloyd like, or what does some of the other guys like in the office, and it is a good conversation starter, and I think it is silly, but I really look forward to going into the office on Mondays because of album day and seeing all you like lovely people as well. But like
as a secondary,
yeah. I mean, well, third after the free hot drinks, and fourth if the snacks are updated as well. So yeah,
fifth after the thrill of working for Eiffel presentations.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, seeing people in general, I'm not a big fan of, but like, you know, but other than that, yeah.
I think like the topic of conversation is the evolution of listening to music, how it's changed for us over the years. And I think certainly things like being in an office environment, certainly a creative office like ours. I mean, there's, you know, I've been in offices where there's no music allowed at all, but I think the nature of what we do, having music certainly helps the creative process, helps create an environment that we're shooting for. So Damon's given me a list of kind of questions to frame the conversation, and I think a good place to start is how we used to listen to music versus how we currently listen to music. So like I remember the first, like, so I had CDs. Actually, no, I don't know. Yeah, I would have had CDs. I think the first CD I ever had, I got it for my 5th birthday, and it was Jason Donovan, 10 Good Reasons. I was a big Jason Donovan fan, had his haircut, and massively wanted his album. But the first album that I bought with my own money, and I'm very proud of this, it was my 12th birthday. I got, like, somebody gave me 10 quid, and I went to Woolworths and I bought Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. That was my first purchased album. But I think, like, so going back to how music used to be consumed, certainly as a budding music fan in the mid-90s, you would build your collection of CDs. and that was the route to kind of building your knowledge, building your understanding, and it was always a conversation starter when anyone came round. And I remember having like a stack of CDs, like in like a little kind of shelf thing, and friends would come round and look at my CDs, of which there were about 20, and be like, "Oh my God, you've got such a great CD collection." I was like, "Yeah, there's Guns N' Roses and Metallica in here." So it was broad at the time. I'm assuming it was much the same for you.
Similar, yeah. What's funny is, I don't know, I can't believe I'm admitting this. So like the first album I remember being given was a vinyl. This really makes me sound old because my mum had a record player. It was a Kylie Minogue vinyl. I'm just thinking Jason Donovan, so I'm the Kylie to your Jason Donovan, I suppose.
I think that's fair.
That makes sense. But yeah, I do remember going, don't really want this. And also, I was a terrible wimp when it came to loud noises. And I remember trying to put a vinyl on my own, and I dropped the needle down too hard, and the sound was excruciating. It's like, so I was terrified of vinyl records when I was a child because I was worried that I was going to put the needle in the wrong place, and then it would make that horrible scratching noise across the speaker. So I was terrified, and I never bothered playing it. When my first one, I remember the first single I remember buying. I still stand by this song today. I don't know why I bought it so young. I was only about 10. Pet Shop Boys, West End Girls, which I think's a brilliant song.
How old are you?
It's a question I'll never answer, but I am in between 70 and 25, but I will not say where exactly.
All right. So like you're talking about vinyls, that's kind of taken me back before I started my own kind of musical pursuits. But
it was probably just before. This was like my mum would. We listened to things like tapes as well, and then I think CDs for me was when it all kind of landed in the mid-90s. So I had a few shocking like tapes, like because my musical taste was pretty ropey back then. And then I remember getting my first ever CD player in the 90s, like a 3-tray JVC. Yeah, so I could flip between the CDs, and you could do it so you could program, so they would do it for you as well. You could program the songs to come in. It was amazing. And my first album my uncle bought me, CD, for that was Oasis, definitely, maybe.
Good shout.
I know, I was really proud of that. And then when I got my birthday money, I think a few months later, I went to Virgin Megastore in Leicester and got Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory, because I got definitely probably a year or a half after it had been out. So I just went Oasis mental for about sort of 2 years. But yeah, regardless of who I was listening to, it was kind of like I'd go like CDs. I'd sort of spend my birthday money. I'd go to Virgin Megastore or HMV, and I'd loiter like for ages. Like, and I'd go to those little pods where you could listen to the album.
The listening posts.
Yeah, so I'd go there, and I think what I was thinking about earlier before this. I think if the way, I'm not jumping too far ahead, but like if the way music is now, I think there's a few artists that I might have struggled to get into, because when you were younger, you kind of put your album on and you let it play on loop sometimes because you only had a few. I mean, you had 20. It took me ages to get to 20 because I had like not much money. So like I think by the late 90s, I might have had about 20 albums or something. So I was listening to, for instance, like Stereophonics. I remember Performance and Cocktails. I listened to that album. I remember getting it and going, I spent a tenner on it and listened to it once and yeah, it's all right, it's okay. Like, and then put it on a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And then probably about a week later, I was like, this album's amazing. Like, why is it taking me so long to realize this? Like, and I do think nowadays I wouldn't necessarily sit and put an album on again and again and again because the choice is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like now,
you used to live with your collections, like good and bad. You know, like I've still got all my CDs. I've got them here in a container in the garage because I've tried to get rid of them a couple of times. I can't bring myself to do it because they're not all on streaming services. I don't have a CD player, so I wouldn't. Actually, is there one in the car? I think there's one in my car, but like, so I've got no means to use them, but they were a very important part of my identity as a teenager, and still now.
Well, they were the soundtrack to your kind of adolescence,
absolutely.
weren't they? You know.
Well, because you invested in them, and the options were limited compared to what we're exposed to or what we have access to now, they would, come back, and they would grow on you. And like, I think that it's a common kind of topic with some of my friends about how the listening experience has changed in that respect, because you might not give certain albums the time, because you've only got, we're grown-ups now, and listening to music fits in around our lives, but you don't have as much time with single albums. But equally, like, you've got access to all music ever, right?
Yeah.
So at the time, like, there would be more scenes, there would be more genres that kind of had the spotlight in the media, and you kind of followed them, and then you move on to the next thing, and you move on to the next thing. The longer down the timeline you go, the more fragmented genres become, and you've got access to all of it, right? So a new artist now isn't just competing with their peers in the scene. They're competing for audio real estate, with everything that's come before it. So like, I haven't kept up with charts for God knows how long. Like, it's not important to me. But somebody that releases an album on Friday is competing against Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Queens of the Stone Age, all of the greats that I listen to frequently. It's battling against all of that. So it's difficult times for new artists and new albums, because they just don't get the attention that they once got.
And I think that, I know we'll probably come to this in a minute, but I think that's partly down to there's a laziness in the listen experience that I hear from a lot of casual music listeners. I'm probably more of an avid music listener. I'm certainly sure you are as well, where people stick to what they know or what they think they know. Like, I'll play that, or I'll play that type of music. I get it in the neck from my wife. Like, whenever I try and put random bits of music on when people are around. Can you just put some 90s pop on? And I'm like, well, I don't want to listen to 90s pop. I want to listen to this Metronomy album. I don't, and I'm fighting against the tide of the casual listening fan. But the thing is, if I'd have got a time machine back in the 90s and they said, right, Damon, you're going to be in 20 odd years, you're going to be listening to music, all these albums that are in HMB and Virgin Megastore, you will be able to get on a device that sits in your pocket. I'd have been like, that is mental. Like, and that is literally what we've got now. And it's amazing when I know, get over it. Streaming's been around for ages now already, so, but still, like, if you look at where we were to where we are now, it's just, I think there's almost an overwhelming amount of choice. And I wonder, because you're an artist, you're trying to get your stuff seen and heard. I wonder if it's to the detriment of new artists, the way we listen, because we're not pushing our own boundaries, even though all the apps like the Spotify, Amazon, if you look at the way they designed, despite their issues, they are designed to make you try and discover music and listen to more of the stuff you do like. But I still find people don't kind of want to have that experience. They still just want to go, wow, I just want to listen to the same things I've been listening to for God knows how many years, and I don't get that.
You could probably compare it to, in your notes you've mentioned decision fatigue, and you could probably compare it to sitting down and watching something on Netflix or Prime or whatever, because again, you've got access to everything, right?
Yeah.
So, well, not everything, but it's certainly vast what you've got access to. So like, kids are in bed, Sarah and I sit down to watch something, and we spend X amount of time just skipping through. And I think people are kind of leaving Netflix now for that kind of reason. You know, historically, you'd have 5 TV channels and Sky for, you know, the middle classes, and you would have a set amount of choice, you know, so like your bandwidth for choice is limited, you know. Like you say, I'd certainly describe myself as an avid music fan, but when you're presented with everything, it's just kind of like, where do I go?
Exactly.
How
do you navigate that?
And you're in different moods at different times, and you want different things. I mean, I get most of my new music recommendations from a handful of friends. I tend to find out what I might like through them. There's always the discovery kind of playlists on Spotify, which I don't always trust. I don't know if because I've got me, Sarah, and the kids all listening, the algorithm isn't always my friend. The 1001 albums thing is good, but again, I have to be in a certain frame of mind to kind of go on that kind of pursuit. But yeah, I guess it's the point I'm trying to make is it's easy to fall back on what you know. Like, you know that if you're feeling a certain way, Queens of the Stone Age is going to be the only medicine, or you know, whatever from your kind of personal catalogue. So I don't know what the answer is there in terms of being exposed to new music and how to do that, unless you've got an app that you wanted to discuss that might help with that.
We've got a business proposition here, Lloyd. No, I think because I was thinking this like recently, like in the last, I think it's the last year. So when I set up to do any work, I like to have music on in the background, and that's not just for my own work. It's even if I'm doing some writing, just of my own writing that's nothing to do with Eiffel, and I need music on in the background, and I need different types of playlists for different types of writing as well. Like I write a football blog, and I don't necessarily need really serious music, you know, while I'm listening, like trying to write about, you know, certain footballers playing terribly. So yeah, I kind of devised this thing when I was talking about that decision fatigue earlier. It kind of fed into the album day thing, where we choose who has it's like a wheel of fortune. So I found this app, and actually, going all the way back, I found there was a time when I was with the kids at home, and the kids were like, "Oh, what are we gonna do, Daddy? Like, Mummy's out. Well, we need to do something." So I was like, you have that desperate time, but there's loads to do, but I just can't think of anything. So right, let's make a list of the stuff that we could do. So I ended up writing a whole list of stuff down. Okay, even just making a den, you know, playing a board game, and so on. And I went, I tell you what, kids, let's put it into some sort of, you know, randomizer. And I found this app that had the Wheel of Fortune thing on it. So you just spin the wheel and it lands on something, and you go with that. And the kids love it. So they'll go, "Can you spin the wheel? Can we play?" And they spin the wheel, but invariably it will land on something like, I'll sneak something in there like, "What's that? Yay, let's tidy up. Yay." Or "Oh, look, Daddy's car needs a clean." Yeah.
You sound like a hoot.
But no, like they'll like also things like playing video games or going out and playing football or whatever. So took that, applied it to the album day, and then I was listening to music, and I was getting annoyed, I think, one day, and I was like, I can't focus because the music isn't right, or at least what I'm choosing isn't right, or I don't like my choice. So I ended up coming up with this decision wheel of basically whenever I'm trying to think of something to listen to, and it started off at about, I don't know, 5 or 6 categories, and I won't go through them all because there's a ridiculous amount. But if you can see, oh no, you can't see. Hang on, I don't know if I can unblur. You can't see it, can you? It's sort of blurring. No, maybe just.
But remember, we also have audio listeners that wouldn't be able to.
This is true.
Talking about anyway.
audio listeners, if you can imagine a huge wheel of different subjects on, and I'll just sort of pluck a few out. Like, so for instance, if you go on like your music service provider of choice, they'll throw things at you on your homepage, and it'll be like, and it's whether you want to go with them. But sometimes I find myself doing the same thing as the Netflix thing, where you're scrolling and going, oh, I don't know. So this takes a bit of the pain out. So it kind of lands on albums for you. The problem is, like you said, Lloyd, you might get the kids' algorithm playing up, and it gives you the Disney princess soundtracks of all time, you know, and you don't want that. Or it might throw out an album you've not heard from an artist that you didn't know had one out, or it might be an album you've not listened to in ages. I've also got like lots of different types of playlists. So like, I don't know about you, like, if you hear a song you like, do you go, right, I'm going on Spotify, I'll put that on, or whatever you use, put it in a playlist, or do you just like it, or do you do anything even? Do you like act on that?
So if I'm listening to something, because you do listen to a lot of things on Spotify by chance, you know, like for example, if you play an album, typically it will just continue playing other things similar to that. So if something comes on that I've not chosen that I like it, you know, put the heart thing, and then I periodically go back and check out all of the tracks that I've liked.
So that and I bet there'll be
further, and
I bet there'll be a few in there. What's really nice is when you go in and you put something, oh, I like that, forget about it for literally sometimes months, and it appears again, and it's like, oh, I totally forgotten I love this track. And that I quite like that. So I took it one stage further, and I just put, like, because we had an iFull radio playlist, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to start my own playlist, DAMON Radio, and it's got about, this is where maybe I'm probably a victim of the fact that I like lots of different genres of music. There's over 2,000 songs in my DAMON Radio playlist, which
nice.
It is, but then I'm like, does that mean I'm just like, yay, everything's great? And I'm not policing it a bit more and going, do you really still like this song? Should I be getting rid of some songs off of it? Because obviously that's like, if you look at the stat on it, it's something like 7 days worth of music. You know, it's crazy. You'd never sit and listen to all that, but you put them on random, and occasionally something in like is good. Another one is, yeah, like you say, the discovery playlist. So I put that on. Like, I haven't listened to that in a while actually, but that, again, it does depend on that algorithm of these streaming sites, and if it constantly hears, it should. I'm on Amazon, and more often than not, it kind of gets through one whole 25 song playlist. I'll get one or two tracks. I'll go, I really like that, I want to listen to that again. And some people might go, I don't want to listen to 25 songs before I get a couple I like. But I quite like that journey of finding those hidden gems that I've not heard, and they won't necessarily be anything new. They'll be really old songs, obscure old songs that I've never heard, and then it will lead me down a rabbit hole of, oh, I might listen to their album actually, and I might just delve a little bit deeper, and all of a sudden you've found a new kind of little pocket of music that you didn't know you enjoyed, you know. So I think the discovery one is good, but I think, like you say, it's open to debate.
Something that you've just kind of reminded me of something that I used to do, which I've not done for a while, in terms of trying to find new music. So like, if you start with a band or an artist, and then you go to similar artists, and Spotify can recommend, you know, up to 20 people or 20 artists similar to that, that's always a good one to kind of find new stuff. I found quite a few bands, like probably around 2014, 2015, I really started to get into, I would say, new/modern indie music. And there was loads of bands that I found, like Beach Fossils, Dive, Drenge, loads of these bands that were of a certain scene that my friends weren't listening to and telling me about, that I went and then found myself. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's not all, you can't always just be throwing them on the discovery thing. Sometimes you have to put in a little bit of labor to find these things. And and just with buying CDs back in the day, there's, for every good new artists you find, there's probably about 10 not so good ones. But then coming back to your other point is like, if you would have spent more time with it, would they have
grown? Yeah, that's it. And
because like the best music isn't instantly digestible, you know.
That's why I find that
challenging, and well, sometimes it can be challenging, but like it should. There's certainly space for you as a listener to be pushed beyond your comfort zone. And again, like with the, it's sometimes easy to not participate in that because it's just easier just to listen to Take That.
as we all both, I'm sure both we end up just listening to many Take That songs. I mean, I was just gonna, on my up thing as well, is the on my wheel is the 1001 albums, because I made it my aim this year. Unlike Alex, who's a machine and can listen to seems like 10 albums a day, I can't do that. I'm a bit more like you. I actually did 2 this morning, but only because the wheel sort of popped them up. I'm trying to finish the 70s, so I'm up to 1974. I think that I listened to Queen, Sheer Heart Attack, and 10cc this morning. I forget the name of the album, and actually quite interesting. But I know how slow I am at listening to those albums from that book, and I did a little mathematical equation at the start at the end. Right, if I listen to one every other day, I reckon I can finish the 70s like this year, and that's a reasonable aim, you know. Not because you could easily, I'm going to finish the book this year, but I don't. I like my own music, and I occasionally on that list there are albums that I do find quite boring, and I just want to, after that, I want to get back to something I like. I don't just want to spend a whole day listening.
Yeah, so I think Alex committed all of his listening to that book.
Yeah.
And when he said it took him, because I thought it took him like 2.5 years, you think it took him like about a year and a half.
Yeah.
It sounds like, yeah, I can do that. It's a year.
It's a doddle.
It's quite an intense experience, especially when obviously these are not all albums that you're going to like. You know, it's an eclectic mix, and some of them are taxing.
Yeah.
But some of them are really, really enlightening. And but yeah, I'm back into it now, and I'm listening to them and updating.
Anything recent that you've heard that you?
So I was just looking, because the one that I've listened to one today, which I thought was fantastic. So Laura Nyro, Eli and the 13th Confession. Never heard of Laura Nyro. I've not read the forward for it. Just a brilliant album. Like really, really thoroughly enjoyed that. And I would not have had any exposure to that by any other means. Do you know what I mean? So that book is fantastic for broadening your perspective,
and a bit of a history lesson as well, isn't it? It's nice to kind of learn about where the artists began or where they kind of evolved to being. It's just, I know with my listening habits, I can only probably do one every I could do more, but I think sometimes I do just want, you know, the music I want sometimes. And Alex is a machine. I think he really goes deep into those things, and I don't have the staying power for it. So 1970s, that's my aim to get completed this year.
Coming back to your music for focusing, are there specific playlists that you go to when you want to focus, or is it you go to your magic wheel and let that decide?
There are, yeah. So like this wheel is only kind of if I'm sat at work on if I'm sat at home on a day working from home and I just need some music in the background, but I don't know what to choose, that's when I go to the wheel. But that being said, if I have to do if I've got a big writing project, for me, I struggle especially if it's quite dense business content that I need to get my head into. I need a playlist that's there, but it's not going to intrude when I'm trying to read. So like I have a playlist of about 200 songs that are no words. It's just instrumentals or electronic or even movie soundtracks. So that playlist. I think it's called Writing No Words. I think very imaginative name. It helps me just.
It's
it doesn't
very
make me focus.
poetic, Damon.
I know,
Don't
it's,
do that a
you know.
disservice. Writing no words.
Yeah, but it's I know, pretentious.
No, I like it. It's going to be the name of my next child.
I have made a few errors though on some of these playlists where there are lyrics in them, and why have I left that in? Like, and also Christopher Nolan, well, not Christopher Nolan, Hans Zimmer scores from The Dark Knight isn't always the chilled out experience you need it to be when you're writing content that just needs to speak to a business audience. I don't want to scare these people. So
I've got a playlist. I don't know how I found it. It's not my playlist. It's one of the Spotify playlists called Lo-Fi Beats.
Okay.
I would check that out because that's perfect for focusing. Really is, because it creates a certain kind of mood. There's very rarely are there lyrics in it, and because it's not something that you've chosen, so it's not right, I'm going to put on Appetite for Destruction because I'm not going to focus to that. I'm going to take my shirt off and
swing it around your head,
enjoy myself when I listen to that. But like when you just need to kind of get into, you need a certain part of your brain occupied so that the other part can crack on.
Yeah.
I would strongly recommend Lo-Fi Beats.
Lo-Fi Beats. I will be putting that on at some point.
And then in that, there's just some great tracks that I've gone, actually, do you know what? That's quite inspiring, from a melodic perspective. And I would like to, as part of Wing Magma, potentially, not that I'm going to start being a hip-hop producer or anything like that, but there is a certain mood that is captured on that playlist that resonates very well with me, and I would like to explore for sure.
I would be keen to hear that.
Good, it's really good.
The flip side to that is I also am a writer on my own kind of right, and the book that I wrote.
Oh yeah, you were going to crowbar that in.
Oh yeah.
What's the name of that book?
Oh, this. It's blurred. Can't see it. Refracture. Available at Amazon and no other bookshops because I haven't figured that out yet. Yeah, that is a shameless plug. But what I did with that book is I created a playlist that initially was just, I need something to write to give me some inspiration, but it kind of ended up forming the basis of some of the characters' choices, and actually the playlist itself fed into the book. So it weirdly, and this is the kind of the weird juxtaposition with that, is I will go from writing things that I need no lyrics for to writing my own stuff like a novel where I needed music with lyrics in, like there's the horror song, what's it called? Forget what it's called now, but there was a horror song that I must have put on loop to get me through a chapter, because I needed that song and I needed that feeling that it was giving to be able to write that chapter, and put myself in the headspace of that character. It's annoying me now that I can't remember the name of it because I must have had it on about 200 times last year. But yeah, it helped me get through that. So even though my wife would be sort of watching me, she'd have my headphones on, writing away, but she could hear the music like powering out of the sound. But I don't know how, but it kind of helped me write. I could kind of, like you said, the two parts of your brain almost. I could still operate in that space with a really heavy music in my ears and being able to write. Yet I think if it had been without any words, I think I might have struggled to be as inspired for certain parts of that book, which is something, is a bit of a revelation for me when writing that. And a lot of people I speak to go, what, you can write while you've got loads of music on? I can't. People don't always operate like that. And that's just something I found for me, and writing that one that I needed to kind of get me over the line. So I had a massive playlist and I included that like on Spotify and Amazon, in case anyone's interested, because it was inspiring for the book, but also kind of informative for the character as well. But yeah, there's loads of others. Sorry, bang the table there. there's loads of others like you say, play similar music. So I'll randomize my Damon radio, and I haven't listened to Chemical Brothers in a while. I'll listen to something similar to stuff like they do. I'm really into house music, so I've got like a massive house music playlist that's about 200 or 300 long, which is a bit heavy and I can't always listen to. But the one playlist I've done that I think's really helped listen to music differently is I did like a rotation playlist where I go, I like this song, I keep hitting repeat on it, I need to put that in a playlist. And what I've done is I've created a rotation playlist so that I just delve into it. But what I do is as a song comes onto it, I'll get the song at the top of the list off of it. So you can listen to a song loads and loads of times, but then actually 6 months later you go, I can't listen to this anymore. I'm trying to manage that brilliant moment when you get a song that it just resonates with you, and you go, I'm going to keep playing that and playing that. But you also acknowledge that if I continue down this road, I'm going to kill the song for me. So I kind of put it on the rotation list and then make sure that it comes off as well eventually, so that I can enjoy it again.
I liken that experience to bacon. Right? So I like bacon. When I smell it, when it's in my mouth, I have a good time. So I go back for more bacon. After about the 6th or 7th bacon, I start to go off bacon until tomorrow.
Till one day passes. But I know what you mean. Like it's like you have an
Too
appetite.
much bacon will take away your appetite for bacon.
Exactly. And I think the same can be said for the music you feed into your brain. I think you can have too much of that flavor, and that also
Bacon flavor.
Bacon flavor. That's it. I'm trying to think of some sort of pork-based puns now, but I can't think of any. No, I've got nothing. Absolutely nothing. Gags isn't my strong point. But yeah, that in a nutshell is kind of like how I've helped myself listen to music, and also I enjoy spinning the wheel now and go, I wonder what it's going to throw at me now, and I'll, like I said, delved into listened to a Chemical Brothers album this morning that I hadn't listened to in a long time. Listened to some new stuff, and who knows what I'll listen to for the rest of today. I would, if anyone listens to this, I'm sure they will, the thousands that listen to this, if they take anything from this, is maybe just delve a bit more into your streaming service and try and listen to other stuff, build your own playlists, share music. What's been great about working at iFull is talking to yourself and many other people about the different music that people love, and we don't all like the same thing, and that's great because it's okay that there are different conversations going on in different areas. That's what 100%. I like. I don't want everyone to agree with me, and that's what, like, I've got into hip hop music a bit more over the last sort of 10 years, and it's been good to have a place to talk about that with, because not a lot of my friends are into that sort of stuff. So I just love music, and I just want to keep listening to more and more, and I can't wait to listen to yours either.
Yeah, me neither. One day, hopefully one day soon. I do like your wheel idea, and I think I could probably get some leverage out of that. So
how would you improve it, or would you like, because it can be a bit granular, and I
just like the idea of taking the weight out of a decision.
Yeah,
and like committing to, like, these are the parameters. Let the chips fall where they may, and
maybe it could be applied to other things. Like, I have tried to do it for like your Netflixes and go, I don't know, like old movie, something off my list, something starring Eddie Murphy, whatever, like, and just going, all right.
You've managed to crowbar it into your parenting, so I don't see how you couldn't
apply it to everything.
Apply it to every decision you ever need to make.
It is that decision fatigue. I think a lot of the people as well, like, if they do a day of work and they're shattered and they just want to sit down and maybe they listen to some music, or they want to play a video game, or they want to watch a film or a TV show, the choice of everything now, like a video game, I sign up to PS Plus for the PlayStation, so I actually have access to about 200 video games, and I can't, again, get my head around, go, what should I play? Just for an hour, and then before I know it, half an hour's gone, and I've gone,
and you've not made a decision yet,
not done anything. So yeah, I mean, if you like doing, I will send you the app, or there's probably better ones. I still think we should get a giant Wheel of Fortune style wheel in the office, like one that was like the actual Wheel of Fortune back in the 90s, if anyone used to watch that. That's just got all our names on it for album day, but it's probably an unnecessary expense.
I don't know.
Pitch it.
Could be a thing. We could make it so. Damon, we're going to have to wrap it up there. But it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Looking forward to getting this one out. And I shall see you on Monday, next time we're in the office.
You too, Lloyd. Take care, mate.
Take
All
care.
the best.
Speak soon.
Speak soon.
Awesome stuff. Very interesting guy. Lots of really interesting topics that we covered there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. In the post this week, I've got next week's podcast is going to be recorded tomorrow at the time that I'm recording this, and it's going to be me and the other two guys in the covers band, A Volcano. We've got a gig coming up at the beginning of March at the Cask Bar in Loughborough, and we need to get our set together. We need to have a think. We've played a similar set there the past couple of times we played there, and we want to kind of change it up a little bit. We've been working on some new songs, so this past week we've worked on My Name is Jonas, which is so much fun to play and so much fun to sing. Me and Jay have got the harmonies down. They're not particularly complex harmonies, but there's just adds such a colour that's very synonymous with Weezer, and to get that nailed was really, really cool. And we're also attempting One Arm Scissor, a huge At the Driving fan. Well, I say I'm a huge At the Driving fan. I was very, very swayed by Relationship of Command. Kind of got very, very influenced by that at the time. I like some of their other albums, but nothing quite as their other stuff didn't impact me the same way as Relationship of Command did. So to play One Arm Scissor, to actually just be in a room playing that song, so much fun. Singing it, completely different challenge. So the kind of division of labour in our covers band is that Jay has a lot of vocal responsibilities. It's pretty much 50-50 between us. Jay's got the kind of gravelly metal kind of voice, so he does the kind of shouty songs. He also does any song involving rapping. He does that, and anything with a bit of range kind of falls to me. But this, in terms of range, the guy's all over the shop. I have sang it and I can get through it, but playing it and singing it and getting through it is another thing. We had a similar kind of challenge with Sabotage. Don't realise how high that song is vocal in the vocal range until you're in a room with a couple of guys trying to get through that. We got through it enough at a rehearsal to say, yeah, I think this could be a lot of fun live. There's a version of it that we did at the last Cask Bar gig, probably best left in the universe, that one. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like I say, when we just kind of, the first time we kind of counted in and played the opening chords of One Arm Scissor, it's just like, wow, that is so cool. Loads of fun. But yeah, we'll see if the Vox can stand up. So yeah, quite looking forward to that chat. I think it'll be an interesting one. So yeah, more conversations in the pipeline. There's been a few people that have got in touch that want to speak, and I've got a few ideas up my sleeve. And wow, I completely forgot to mention how popular the conversation with Tin last week was. Got some really great feedback from that. Really great interactions, and yeah, it was very, very popular. I was talking to Sarah, my wife, about it, and I think it was the fact that there was a game. I don't know. It was quite cool, and I'd like to do more conversations like that with Tin. Similar to the conversation that I just had with Damon. I think I love to have a chat about music, and I can have a great chat with Tin any day of the week about music. So hopefully lots more of those in the post. Thank you all for getting in touch and taking part in the podcast. Hope you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, and here's to the next one. Take care of yourselves. Remember, @WingMagma on YouTube, on Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Hope you have a fantastic week, and I shall see you soon. Take care.